What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, coming at you with another game review. So I'm gonna be reviewing Forza Motorsport 6 in this case, which I realize is probably not the most recent one. I never have the most recent one. In fact, that seems to be the case with a lot of games, but that's a completely tangential thing that I'm not going to get into too much right here. So, Forza Motorsport 6. Now, the Motorsport series, as opposed to the Horizon series, isn't open world. The Forza Horizon games are open world. Forza Motorsport is not. So, let me just check the message center thing here. Okay. Gotcha. So yeah, the thing with this is that it's a lot easier, I think, in the motorsport games, because of them not being open world, for things to feel repetitive. There is a career mode, but what you do in the career mode pretty much consists of either these stories of motorsport or the showcases, at least in this game. The showcases are kind of the more interesting ones. They'll give you, like, kind of specialized types of things, like endurance racing. If you see the numbers on these, those, I think, are like the numbers of miles, either miles or kilometers, but I want to say miles that you drive in these races. It is not that many laps. Doing that many laps would be even longer. So you've got those. You've got, I forget what autocross is. Factory spec, you have to do, like, I think it's pretty much all the cars are going to be exactly the same, and it's more so just trying to test your skill. High-speed chase is kind of what it sounds like. You're chasing after a certain car that gets a head start on you. You've got some where you're just going by a line. There's a line of much slower cars, and you have to pass a certain number of them. But anyway, so those are the showcases. The stories of motorsport are kind of more so your typical air quote campaign stuff, I would say. So you've got certain series of races, and basically, in order to get 100% completion in the game, you would have to do all of these series with all of the different, like, types or classes of cars available in each one. And I don't know if that's all. Okay, so each volume, as it's set in here, has a certain number of class sets that they use. So, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but this has, like, Ultimate Sport Machines, you know, the Track Toys, Historic American Muscle, but if you go to a different volume, it's not necessarily going to have those. So it's got Historic Sports Car, it's got Formula E. Oh, that's a really interesting type of car, by the way. Formula E. Ooh. That's the one thing I found myself, like, really impressed by in this game. I don't know if it's a thing in real life. If it is, holy cow. I wonder how they do it, but yeah. So you know, pick the certain series that has so many races within it, and then, you know, however you do in those series of races, you know, determines the, I guess it builds up your number of like credits or whatever that you have within the game to then buy more of the cars that you could possibly use. I do appreciate that, at least as far as number 6, I believe the motorsport games typically have both online and offline multiplayer possibilities. Like, I think if I go to free play,
all the cars and tracks to
let's see, just yeah. See, yeah, I could have a player 2 jump in on this, just locally, and they wouldn't necessarily have to have an account. Even they wouldn't have to be online. They could just join in with me, and as they're selecting a car, it would give them the option to rent. So they would still have access to all the cars, even if they have never played this game, even if they do not own or never have owned a single video game system ever. They could still hop in on this and use any of the cars they want. But if you've got your own profile account thing and you play through the game, you build up the credits, then you can buy more cars and, you know, do all that stuff. Why is it saying these are free? DLC stuff, maybe? Huh. Anyway. If I played this game very much, I'd look into that a little bit more, but I have not played it much recently. So yeah, anyway. Otherwise, I mean, it's pretty standard as a racing game goes. You only have so many tracks, but it's still a fair number. I mean, so what? 3, 9, 11, 14, 15, 18, 21, 24, 30, 34. Yeah, you can see it's quite a few. So, like, whoa. That one has 10 tracks, jeez. Now, some of them, if you break it down, it's just... Some of them are just different subsets of a larger track. Some of them are just reverse versions. Like, this one really only has 5 tracks, but the other 5 options, you're going in reverse. So, still, quite a number of track options. So, like, it's pretty difficult to get totally bored with it, I would say. But for me personally, on the single-player career stuff, after getting through all the different stories of motorsport here, like, my only motivation to continue on for a while really was, well, A, trying to get all the cars in the game, but also B, unlocking all the showcases. I might eventually come back to this and try and complete everything for it, but yeah, I definitely lost my motivation to play this game for a while, partially because I got more interested in playing other games. But if you're looking for a game that's, you know, kind of a more realistic, some might say racing simulation kind of game, this is a fairly decent one to go with. So not like, you know, Mario Kart or those other like kind of cartoonish and or gimmicky racing games that have extra curveballs thrown at you. So anyway, let me try and give you a quick breakdown, because gameplay wise, I don't think I really need to show you too much gameplay of it. It's a racing game. Like, you race on the track. You've got, you know, right triggers accelerate, left triggers brake. You use the sticks to, well, you use the left stick to steer, right stick aims the camera if you feel like using that. There are some other buttons that you can use for different things, especially if you want to enable manual gear shifting and all that. But I mean, yeah, otherwise it's a racing game. I'm mostly focused on what may be a little bit different, or how this game operates compared to other games. So, as you noticed early on, I opened up the message center here. Pretty much everything in here is going to be these Drivatar rewards. Once it creates your Drivatar thing within the game, it'll just put it in races against other players, and you know, it'll earn some measly amount of credits while doing so. DLC news. Okay, so there are other messages in here, but for the most part, you're just going to see the daily payouts. And I mostly wanted to mention that to mention the Drivatar stuff, and say that even when you're not necessarily playing the game, as long as other people are playing it online, you might be earning a little bit of credits. As you level up, you know, by earning experience from doing the different races and all that, you'll earn prize spins that'll give you different bonuses. Oh, maybe I should try and at least go into a career race. Or maybe I could do it in free play. No, it doesn't seem like it. Well, maybe game options. Okay, so that gives you... that just gives you different race options. That wasn't really what I was looking for. Assists, that also lets you customize whether you get the line suggestion that kind of says, alright, here's the best path to follow, and if you want, you know, where to brake, kind of, in a sense, maybe how fast you should be going, or different stuff like that. Different braking and steering assists a little bit. So if you adjust these, it can make things more difficult, but you also earn more credits that way. Tuning, I guess you can tune the car a little bit if you want to make it, you know, more specialized to different conditions, or just more specific to whatever your liking is. But that's like the super duper uber car freak aficionado sort of stuff that most people aren't really going to care too much about, I would say. Oh, and if you're wondering about the variety of cars, there are quite a few. If I go to rent car, I mean, I don't know how many there are here, but you even just look at the different brand names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're still in the A's. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, quite a few different kinds of cars. And some of them will even have... some of the brands will even have a lot of cars within them. So yeah, lots of cars to drive as well, which is another thing that's, I guess, supposed to keep you playing the game. At least, you know, from the perspective of the devs. Yeah. So while it might get a bit repetitive after a while, because it's a lot of the same places, and even the same tracks get used quite a bit. I mean, you have to redo the same tracks a fair bit if you're going to go in the career. I go to test drive. What does that do? Does that let me get into the stuff I'm trying to... Maybe not. But maybe it will. We'll see. So, there's also, at least within the career mode of this game, possibly in other areas. No, okay. Then again, maybe not in other things. Okay, I'm gonna quit this because there's one other thing I want to show you regarding how this game works. So it's within the career mode, you can unlock and utilize certain other, like, I guess I'd just call them perks, for lack of a better way to say it. Which I have not done. Modern Sport Legends. Garage cars eligible. How do I know which ones I've used for this, though? Maybe I don't. Actually, you know what? Let's go with the track toys. That'd probably be something a little more interesting that you'd want to watch. Oh. And sometimes it gives you a little introductory bit to, you know, the particular racing series that you're gonna do and whatnot. I mean, okay. So, do I own any of these? I think it just said cars affordable, which means I don't believe I own any of these. So if I wanted to, I'd select this car to purchase it, and as you're purchasing it, it'll give you kind of some design recommendations and whatnot. I think I'm gonna go with the flame design on this. So these are just different looks that people have given. Oh yeah, I guess there's a thing too. There's like a customization thing where you can, you know, add a paint job to it, or maybe certain accessories as well. Different decals or whatever. But it's mostly cosmetic. But you can make it. You can give it a certain look, and possibly if other people use that, give you credits for it. I don't know. Anyway, so I can buy this, and then that'll be a new car that I add to my collection, and then I would use it for the races. Which I don't know if I'm actually going to do any of the races here. But I want to at least get into the starting screen of one of them, so that I can show you. So there are like other, almost like automatic customizations of the race that you can sort of just attach preloaded, air quote, to it. I'm trying to describe this somewhat accurately before I show it to you, but I don't think it's really gonna, I don't know. So you've got, like, I guess modifiers almost that will affect your car primarily. The mods, that's what I'm looking for. You also see some of them, like, off to the right, you see the mod slots. So you've got some of them that will modify your car and generally make it better. You could give it better brake and or grip, or reduce the weight, or different things like that. And some of them are specific to certain tracks. So you've got things that can kind of help you in that way, kind of boost your car's performance. You also have challenge mods that will generally limit stuff. A lot of the ones I've kept are different camera views with no HUD or whatever, because so if you use a challenge mod, it will give you extra credits for completing the race with that equipped. Now, as you use certain brands of cars, you'll also unlock these kind of crew chief ones that are specific to those, but it seems like they all will pretty much just increase your grip and give you extra credits. Which, again, credits are how you buy the car, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. You also have, like, single-use boosts, which will just give a bit of an increase to... You could increase your starting grid spot, which, trust me, there are times when that actually becomes very, very helpful. Some of these cars just don't want to get out of your daggum way. Or you can just get a simple credit boost. Or increase grip or other stats in your car for just a single race. So anyway, so yeah, there's all that stuff going on too in the career mode, which kind of maybe makes it slightly more interesting if you feel like tooling around with that. You can change the difficulty of drive avatars and things like that. And generally it will give you suggestions based on how well you do. Like, if I keep getting a ton of first place finishes against the pro level, it'll suggest I bump it up to unbeatable. If you try a particular race and you repeatedly get, I'd say, probably below third, meaning it won't advance onto the next one, or at least I think you need third or above to advance to the next one, generally. But if you don't get that, then it'll kind of suggest after a few tries, okay, maybe bump it down a notch. One thing this game is good at is trying to keep it competitive without necessarily getting so hard for so long that you're wanting to, like, rip your hair out. Anyway, I think I've gone over pretty much every relevant aspect of this game. Again, this is more driving simulation kind of thing. It's meant to be more realistic. So, as far as games of that type go, this is, I would say, a fairly good one. Again, possibility of getting repetitive, especially if you're going for full completion and whatnot. But at the same time, there's also the multiplayer component. So, honestly, I've kept this downloaded on my Xbox just for the multiplayer component. There's, I guess, other things that you can look at. Oh yeah, there's an upgrade shop. You can actually, like, if you're going to use a car for a certain racing series or whatever, it may automatically suggest, hey, you can add some upgrades to your car to, put it at the peak of the class, and so then, you'll be competitive with the other cars that are going to be in these races. There's a bunch of other stuff to look at. I think these last two things are just going over DLC. Yeah, expansion, yeah. I don't need, like, There's a bunch of other minor stuff that you could look at, but I figure I've already covered the major stuff, and this video is getting kind of long. As a whole, look, I am not necessarily the biggest fan of racing games, but again, as far as a realistic racing game, I'd say this is a solid one. Like, within game genre, I would put this up pretty high, like 8, maybe even up to a 9. There are certain things where, you know, if you're not real advanced, it can feel like, okay, why is this race suddenly so much harder than this other race that I just did? Or whatever. If you're super duper knowledgeable and really good at these kinds of games and can take advantage of all the little intricacies of it, you might be able to figure out how to get past that. But for a more casual player, that kind of stuff can stump you a bit, which is part of the reason I would tend more towards giving it an 8 instead of a 9. But then again, like I said, there's that difficulty adjustment that it tends to do somewhat on its own if it realizes that you're either doing a little too well or that you're struggling. But those changes are also optional. It doesn't force you into that. So, within game genre, at least 8. Maybe I'll give it an 8.5. In terms of, you know, relative to all the games out there, like, I can tell you, hands down, I prefer the Horizon series. I like the open world aspect of the Horizon games. So, on the whole, if I were just gonna compare this and rate it on, like, the broad spectrum of all games out there, I would tend to give it more like maybe a 6.5, or maybe a 7 if I'm feeling generous, just because it's easier in this game, especially versus the Horizon games, to kind of get bored with it, for it to feel repetitive. So, again, amongst the broader spectrum of games, I might be inclined to give this more like a 6. Maybe we'll keep the halves as a theme. I'll give it 6.5 maybe out of 10. Just because, as I said, it's easier to get sort of bored with it and for it to feel repetitive. So, yeah, anyway. Suppose those are all the thoughts that I have regarding Forza Motorsport 6. I imagine some people maybe would have liked to have seen more actual gameplay. I apologize if that was the case, but, like, it's a racing game. You race. What else is there to show you? Like, it's not like this is going to look vastly different than other racing games, unless you count, like, you know, the guideline or certain things like that. But otherwise, I've shown you anything else that could set this game apart from other games. And because I'm giving you that as a reason why I'm not showing more gameplay, is probably another part of the reason why I would rate this game lower on the broader spectrum of games. So anyway, okay, I should stop talking now. This video has already been long enough. So, yeah, that's it for now. As with most of my games, I got this one free with gold months, probably even a year plus ago, but, you know, if you're really into these kinds of games, it's probably not going to cost too much to buy it nowadays. So go find yourself a used copy at GameStop or whatever local game store you have. Probably not going to be that expensive, and so if you're really into these games, it might be worth a shot. So anyway, yeah. that's it. I should stop rambling on about everything that comes to my mind. So, as always, like the video and share it if you enjoyed and you want other people to see it as well. If you want to see more stuff from me, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell to get updates when I post new stuff to YouTube. You can look down in the description for info on my other social media pages and how to find and follow those. And of course, leave comments down below all that with any other games you'd like to see me review or even play through. Or even just any other video ideas or thoughts that you have for me. Let me know down below. So that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I will see you for the next video. But until then, stay cool, people.